Hey, in this video we will be looking into Amazon chemical and heavy metal restrictions, both for Amazon brands and also for third-party sellers. So number one, we have the restricted substance list, or the RSL. Now, the restriction substance list was published back in 2018, and it lists substances that Amazon itself restricts for their own private brands. Examples include bisphenol A, phthalates, formaldehyde, and so on. You can actually see this on Amazon sustainability subdomain. Now, why do they have this list? Well, they want to show that they go beyond the regulatory requirements, which is something that is quite common when it comes to larger brands. So it's not entirely unheard of. And that's really what this is about. That they are going above and beyond the regulatory requirements. Sometimes they also require third-party sellers to do the same thing. One thing that's quite interesting is bisphenol A regulations or restrictions on for third-party sellers on Amazon platform. Bisphenol A, which can be found in certain plastics, coatings, and so on, is actually prohibited. If you go on the restricted substances list on the Amazon Seller Central, the first item is actually products containing bisphenol A. Now, what's interesting here, and this is for the United States, by the way, what's interesting about this is that my understanding is that this is actually not a federal regulation, meaning that in the United States BPA is banned. But many states in the US that restrict it though, and for that reason, I guess Amazon has decided to also put up a blanket ban on BPA. That's my understanding anyway. What this demonstrates is that Amazon have the right and the will to go beyond regulatory requirements, not just for their own brands but also for third-party sellers. What could this mean for the future? Well, they can come out and say that they are from here on out banning certain phthalates, for example, certain heavy metals and so on. Absolutely not unthinkable. So in the EU, it's a different story. Amazon Europe prohibits BPA in food contact materials and baby products. My understanding is that this is BPA, well, bisphenol A is actually banned for FCM and certain baby products such as pacifiers in all of the EU. So they don't have to put up they don't have to go beyond the regulatory requirements, but only do what they normally do, which is to refer to the regulatory requirements in the concerned market. Right. Now, for the most part, Amazon is requiring sellers to follow the regulatory requirements in each respective market. So when you're trying to understand, okay, which substance regulation, which chemical restrictions do I need to follow for my products, then the real question is, other than certain cases when Amazon is going beyond that, which regulations apply in my target market or target country. So to give you an idea, CPSIA set certain substance restrictions on all children's products in the United States. Various FDA rules covering all food contact materials in the United States. And a number of state regulations, the most famous being California Prop 65, which also restricts substances. This can be done in different ways. They can set certain limits on a weight basis, like 10 milligrams of lead per kilo, just to give you an idea. Could also be a matter of migration, or even absorbing certain substances on a daily basis. Now, how you can make this assessment is something I will get back to in a bit. Right, in the EU, there's REACH, sets substance regulation to cover chemicals, heavy metals, and other polluting substances in all consumer products in the EU. ROHS covers electronics, mainly heavy metals and also phthalates. Toy Safety Directive, it's stricter than REACH, for example, so it also sets limits on certain substances, and also a number of standards harmonized under the GPSD, the General Product Safety Directive, applies to specific products. Could be, in particular, children's products like pacifiers and so on. So what happens? What can happen if you sell products containing restricted substances, be it chemicals or heavy metals, on Amazon? Well, the way they deal with this is that they can reach out to you and say, "We want to see a test report or the compliance document." As evidence that your product is actually compliant, that it does not contain certain substances, or at least not above the set limits. And unless you can provide this within a set time frame, your product listing will be removed. That can be especially painful as an FBA seller, as you will even have to remove the inventory in that case. So that's a risk that you're looking at, suspension. You cannot just go around this problem by relisting a product. That's not the way it works. So how do you ensure that your product don't contain regulated chemicals and heavy metals? Number one, you need to assess, okay, I'm selling this product, which regulation or regulations apply to my product? Some of which may concern substances in the country, in the state. Okay. The second thing you need to do, well, it's more than 2 steps, but just to simplify the topic, you also need to arrange third-party testing. You need to get in touch with a company like Hema, Intertek, SGS, etc., and book a lab test. That way, they will then do material analysis and give you a test report with a list of basically summarizing test results. And this, in turn, proves that your product is compliant, and can also be sent to Amazon if they request it. Okay, if you want to learn more about product compliance, you can try out our compliance tool on compliancegate.com/tool.